This is Andy Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and I'm delighted to be joined by trainer Tony Sims over Zoom. Tony, first and foremost, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Andy. You all right?
Yeah, I'm all good. I'm all good. It's good to catch up with you. You've got a lot going on with your gym at the minute, so we'll try and work for everyone. As I say, I don't want to forget anybody, but if I do, please remind me. So obviously caught up with you earlier. John Doherty getting ready to step in with Jack Cullen next week. Just talk to me about kind of John decided to take the fight on short notice, as Jack was originally scheduled to face Jack was originally scheduled to face Jamie Cox.
Yeah, well, John was already on the bill against Jack Arnfield, and then last week, Jack Arnfield pulled out of. I think he had an appendicitis operation, so we was left without an opponent. I think Matchroom was working on getting a new opponent for John, and then obviously, as you say, Jamie Cox has pulled out of a cut against Jack Cullen. So it was the obvious thing to do, that you had two fighters on the bill from the Matchroom stable that needed matching, and they were both the same weight, so it was an easy matchup to do.
Two guys who like to use their boxing skills when they're in the ring, with regards to John and with Jack. How are you kind of preparing for this fight though?
Well, he's been preparing for Jack Arnfield, so Jack Arnfield's a tall, super middleweight, very similar to Jack Cullen, really. So, he's been preparing for that anyway. And obviously, Jack Cullen's been preparing for Jamie Cox, who's a southpaw. So, really, they both should be well prepared.
It's another good step up for John, Tony. How do you actually see, kind of, provided next Saturday goes to plan, how do you see kind of John's career progressing from that point in, say, the next year or so?
Well, he's been made for a British title eliminator. So, I think he's ready to go into the British title within his next fight or two. So if this is an eliminator, then obviously he might have to do a final eliminator. But he's ready to go. You got to remember, he was a top amateur, GB #1, beat Ben Whittaker in the Commonwealth semi-final. So you got to realise that he's boxed everybody on the world circuit as well, in a lot of competitions, and he's ready to step up like the GB fighters do pretty quick. So 22 years old, he's an amazing talent.
John, up until maybe say a year ago, was in a similar situation to what Felix Cash was, where there was both just waiting for the right opportunity to prevent itself, and in both cases we finally got them, and they've taken them with both hands. What do you think it's taken John so long in his case to get that right opportunity, and now we are seeing just how good a talent he is?
Well, I've just brought him along how I've wanted to bring him along, really. I've tried to get him the right fights, obviously, along with Matchroom. And, after he was supposed to be doing an 8-rounder against Jack Arnfield, who's a very good opponent and a big name. And I was thinking after that, then we'll go into I've already wrote to the board asking if John can go in for a British title eliminator. So we was already on them lines anyway. So this coming up now is probably round about the right time for him to go into a British eliminator, and then he'll be ready for the British title.
Moving forwards, Tony, and onto another fighter who's working towards his own fight date, Conor Benn. How's Conor been looking in camp?
Yeah, he's been looking good. He's had a long camp. Like most fighters have had long camps, really, because there ain't been the amount of shows for them to go on, and he's been working away in the gym, just waiting for his date. And as you know, he's going to be headlining the show on the 21st of November now, and he's in against a good opponent, Benn-Formella. He's only lost one fight out of 23, and that was his last fight to Sean Porter on points. He won the IBO World Welterweight title against a very good South African fighter who had previously stopped Miguel Vasquez for the IBO title. So, he's stepping up into world level now, but I think Conor Benn's ready to step up into world level. It was a shame that he didn't get the British and Commonwealth title. against Chris Jenkins, but because he wanted to do that fight and then move on from there, but you know, it never happened. So we just got to move on our own path, and you know, he's ready for the step up now.
This is a kind of a hypothetical scenario I'm going to put to you, Tony. But let's say if we wasn't in a current COVID pandemic, do you feel we would be seeing Conor step up to world level in his next fight, or do you think he would be able to kind of take a bit more time to look towards that British route and moving onwards? Because there's a lot of fights mentioned with him, like Chris Jenkins, as we know, the Josh Kelly fight has been spoken about previously. Do you think we would be seeing him step up as soon, or he would have been able to take a bit more time?
No, I mean, Josh Kelly's got his own agenda. You know, he's got the Avacen fight to get through himself, which is an hard fight. But no, I think Conor Benn's ready to step up onto world level. I think, you know, if he'd have fought Chris Jenkins, he would have claimed that British and Commonwealth title, which would have been nice for him. But, you know, he's ready to go now. He spent a lot of time in the gym this year training, and he's improving all the time rapidly. He's 24 years old now, so he's ready to be let off the leash.
Talk to me about that Formella fight then, Tony. What should we expect in it, and what should we expect to see from Conor that we haven't previously seen before as he steps up to, as you say, you know, that fringe or that world level?
Well, with Formella, he's a nice, tidy boxer. He's got a good jab. His footwork's good. You know, he moves side to side. He's very durable. As I say, he just lost a points decision to Sean Porter. So, you know, he's a durable opponent. You know, he's a smart fighter. He's in good shape. So, you know, he's a world level fighter. And with Conor Benn, you know, he's improved rapidly in the gym. We know he can punch. He's got power in both hands like his dad. And he's matured more into his body, into the welterweight division now over the course of the last year. And his boxing ability is improved massively. You know, you got to realise that all the people he spars with in the gym, you know, they're highly ranked fighters, you know, and he's sparring them all the time, and he's improving all the time. You know, he trains really hard, Conor Benn. He really does. He really puts, you know, the work in the gym, and you ain't got to be on his back all the time to make him work hard. He just loves doing that. So I'm looking forward to him, you know, fighting and then putting himself onto the world scene.
You mentioned that Sean Porter lost for Sebastian Formella, Tony. Sean's never been considered as kind of a big hitter, whereas we've seen him deal with pretty much everybody pretty handedly throughout his career so far. Is he looking at that as a chance to make a statement, not just to show that he's capable of stepping up to that world level, but to make a statement in doing so?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you know, if like you say there, if Conor Benn gets him out of there before the inside the distance, then obviously he's made a statement, because not only has he put himself onto world level, he's done something that Sean Porter couldn't do. But at the end of the day, I don't want him to go into the mindset, and I know he won't do, of just walking in there and trying to bomb the guy out. You know, when you step up to this level now, world level, you got to be smart about what you're doing, you know, and you got to set traps and, you know, make them think, and, you know, you got to think yourself about closing the distance on him. And then, you know, there's a lot to do in there when you're in a world level fight, you know, and you know, I think he can do that. He's intelligent enough to do it. He's trained hard for this fight, and as I say, he's ready to be let off the leash.
Tony, you've obviously got the experience now of what a fight camp was like, boxing without fans there. Whereas this time around, there will not be fans there still, but it's going to be inside an arena, a very different atmosphere to what you would have experienced at fight camp. How are you trying to prepare your fighters mentally for going into a different scenario?
Well, to be honest, when I was the first one into fight camp, we were top of the bill with Ted Cheeseman and Sam Egerton, and to be honest, once the bell goes, Andy, there ain't no difference, mate, from if there is crowd there ain't crowd there, because once the bell goes, you know, they get that tunnel vision and block out anything that's going on anyway. Even in a big, you know, arena like the O2, they block out the noise, you know, and you get tunnel vision, and concentration's very deep on what you're doing. So, you know, from what my fighters said to me, like obviously after the fight, Ted Cheeseman and Felix Cash, who both topped the bills in fight camp, they said it didn't really feel any different once the bell went. It was exactly the same.
Felix Cash, how's Felix looking? Obviously, Felix waiting for his own fight date to return to.
Yeah, I mean, he's mandatory for the British title. And then what's happened is Denzel Bentley's fighting Mark Heffron for the vacant British title, and they have to make their first defence against Felix Cash. So that will be his next fight. I believe it'll probably happen like maybe February time.
What do you make of Heffron versus Bentley, Tony?
Yeah, you know, they're both good fighters. They're both good fighters. You know, they had that draw on the last fight, which I thought was, you know, a pretty fair result. And so, you know, it's over a bit longer distance, over the 12 rounds, this fight. So really, it's whoever performs on the night.
Stylistically, who do you think would be a better matchup for Felix? We saw obviously Denzel much more of a boxer in that first fight, and Mark was trying to be the aggressor. What do you think would suit Felix more?
I don't think it really matters, to be honest. Andy, it don't really matter, really. I mean, whoever wins on that night, then Felix will get ready for, you know, and like I said earlier, may the best man win out of them two. You know, I'm sure it'd be a good fight, but it don't really matter if Felix fights out of them two.
Ted Cheeseman as well. Ted, we're waiting for news as to what's next for him. I'm sure you're probably fed up of hearing it, but we continue to see Sam Eggington's name crop up, and if we'd see a rematch between the pair of them, I know he's probably looking beyond that, looking towards what could be next for him. But with fights being few and far between, what do you think is next for Ted at the minute?
Whatever's best for Ted, you know, financially, whatever's best for Ted. I mean, I think the Eggington fight could happen. I think if it does happen, it probably needs to happen when the crowds are back, because I think it'll be a massive ticket selling fight. And obviously, where the first fight was a brutal fight for both of them, like I called it the English version of Gatti v Ward, you know, and you know, they both put a lot into that fight, and that can take something out of you at the end of it as well. So, you know, they're both having a good rest, and you know, I believe that fight can happen, but you know, I think it needs to happen when the crowds are back in the arenas, because obviously he's got the IBF international title and a high rating now. So, you know, I'd like him to fight, to be honest. I'd like him to fight Scott Fitzgerald again for the British title. I think Ted would like to do that fight because Ted believed he won the first fight. And a lot of people believe Ted won the first fight. And I just think he'd like to fight Fitzgerald again to get his hands back on the British title again. You know, and as I say, he's got that high ranking as well. So he'd, you know, if anything comes up on a higher level, obviously he's going to jump at it as well. But them two fights, Eggington and Fitzgerald, can be made. It's just that I think the Eggington one needs to be made with a crowd there.
Do you have any knowledge of what's kind of going on with Scott Fitzgerald at the minute? Everybody waiting to see what is the latest with him?
No, I haven't got any idea what's going on with him, you know, but I suppose the board will have to make a decision soon of what they're going to do with the British title, because he obviously hasn't boxed since he boxed Ted, and that was like, I think that was like last October, I think. So it's over a year now. So, you know, and you've got challengers waiting to challenge for that title, and Ted must be one of them. So I should think they'll have to make their decision pretty soon on what they're going to do with that. I haven't heard whether Scott's back in the gym. I don't really know what he's doing, to be honest.
Then moving on again, Joe Cordina, Joe in the same boat as Felix Cash, waiting to see when he'll get back out. I mean, Tony, it's obviously it must be a blessing to have so many talented fighters, but at the same time, it must be hard work because everybody's eager to get back out, but there's just not enough spaces on the shows to get them back out.
You know, with Joe, he's had an hand operation, Joe, in the lockdown, funny enough, and which was probably a good time for him. So you know, he knew he was going to be out for 6 months anyway. So and he's had an injury on the right hand for the last couple of fights, and he's got through the fights with them. But you know, we talked about it, and the operation needed to be done. Whether he could have got through his next couple of fights and then got the operation done, but I think it was a good time to get it done now because most fighters are inactive anyway. So he's just started back training lightly on the hand, and he's probably going to be ready to fight. My guess would be maybe February, March. He'll be ready to fight. So I'm hearing from Joe and obviously the surgeon that all the operation went really well, and you know, on the scans, he had some scans last week on the hand, and you know, he's healing up nicely, and as I say, he started to do light work on it. So I'm excited for Joe to get back and get back into the swinging things and get back onto where he left.
So I was about to ask you, before lockdown came about, Tony, Joe was looking at kind of a fringe world level fight of his own. Is the plan going to be to kind of put him back into a situation in a fight like that, or is he going to just look to get back into the ring in a fight which you'd expect him to win comfortably, just to test out his hand, how it feels after an operation?
Yeah, I don't know. That's something that I'll have to sit down with Joe and sit down with Eddie Hearn and then discuss that and see where we're at. Obviously, he beat the Mexican guy last time. He was a good fighter who beat Jordan Gill, and you know, Joe boxed well that night out in Monaco, and you know, he's got obviously a higher rating with that now, and I think he's number 2 in Britain on the BoxRec ratings, and he's quite high in the world rankings now. I think maybe in the top 20. So he just needs to go on from there. Really, he's got the ability. Obviously, he's had a lot of fights amateur-wise. He had like 10 WSB fights as well over 5 rounds. So, you know, he's a very experienced guy. But as you say, maybe we will put him into a fight where just to test the hand out. But we'll just have to see where he is in training at that time and see what Eddie Hearn's got on the table for him.
Moving on once again, John Ryder. John, his name was coming up with every single fighter I could think of since going back to that Callum Smith defeat. Since then, obviously, we haven't heard anything. What's kind of the latest with John there?
Well, the WBA have ordered for John to do a final eliminator for obviously Callum Smith's title. So we're just waiting for the other person to be named in that. I know that John's named in it, so I'm just waiting for the other fighter to do. He's got a fight. One time I was hearing it was David Lemieux, and now I'm hearing it is Chudinov, so I don't really know. But as soon as the WBA have actually ordered it in writing, and then that will be John's next fight, I believe.
Tony, just to pick this back up there, just obviously a technical issue. We were talking about Umar Sadiq, and he obviously went out to face Fedor Chudinov. What did you make of their fight?
I didn't actually watch the fight, to be honest, but I heard Umar Sadiq done really well against him, and he was doing well till he started running out of steam at the end of the fights. But from what I heard in the gym, the boys who watched it, they said he'd done really well. So, you know, I know all about Chudinov anyway. I've seen him fight Groves and seen him fight a couple of times before, so I know all about him.
Moving on to the last man in your gym, I believe, is Martin Ward. What's the latest with Martin?
So Martin is going to be told to do an IBF final eliminator with the South African, I think, who's one above him in the ratings. The problem at the moment is there's a mandatory for the IBF that's still waiting to fight. So I think that until he's actually fought or actually got a date to fight, then they'll announce Martin versus South African for the final eliminator. So because of COVID, obviously that ain't happened. So really, we're waiting for all that to happen.
You've obviously got a stacked stable, as I mentioned earlier on in the interview, Tony. What are kind of the team like though when you're going into the gym? Are they all pressing you? Are they all pushing you for an update as to what's coming up or when they can get back out? Or is everybody kind of fairly relaxed and chilled about the situation?
Well, John and Martin are both waiting for their final eliminators for the world titles, so they know sort of their next fights. So we've just got to wait for the bodies to tell us when the purse bids are and when the fights can happen. And then Felix knows he's mandatory for the British title, so that's next. So that'll just be waiting for that to go to purse bids, which will be once the Bentley Ephraim fight's finished. And then, the others like Conor Benn, John Doherty, John Ryder will all be out before the end of the year. So, everyone's sort of, doing things. And Ted will just wait for his either to fight Scott Fitzgerald for the British, which I'd like, or do the rematch with Sam Egerton again. But that, as I said, that'll be with a crowd.
Moving kind of just back to John Ryder, as you mentioned there. Obviously, we've recently had the Martin Murray versus Billy Joe Saunders fight announced. Was John ever considered for that? Because when I've spoken to him during lockdown, he said that he'd be more than happy to face Billy Joe.
Yeah, well, we offered the fight to Billy Joe for the same money as Murray was going to get, which I think surprised Eddie a little bit. But I just wanted John to challenge Billy Joe for the title. But I believe that Billy Joe didn't think there was enough money on the table for that fight going his way. So that's why he didn't choose John to fight him. And obviously we've pressed for the Callum Smith fight, but Callum Smith's talking about that he wants to fight Yildirim for the WBC and not really mentioning John. So what we're going to have to do is go to the back to the final eliminator again, get the final eliminator, and then there's no way out of it from to fight John. I'd have to fight John once he's got through that, but he just have to go back to where he was before.
Another name which is kind of coming up, and we saw some interactions between the pair of them over social media during lockdown, was one between John Ryder and Rocky Fielding. Did anything ever come of that? Were any talks ever held, Tony?
Yeah, Eddie said to me last week that he'd offered Rocky Fielding the fight for the 21st of November. Rocky said he weren't going to be ready, so that ain't going to happen either. So, as I say, we just got to go back to doing the final eliminator, getting John into the number one position and then challenging for the title again.
Just to move away from your stable, Tony, just a few things I wanted to quickly touch on. Obviously, this past weekend we saw Alexander Usyk overcome Chisora. What did you make of their fight and, of course, Alexander's win and performance?
Yeah, I made Usyk the winner by 2 or 3 rounds, but I think he struggled with Chisora. I think he struggled with Chisora's size, his weight, his strength, and his power. He was, he was completely on his bike for 12 rounds. And I just don't think that Usyk will really, be any worry to the top heavyweights like Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury. I think he'll be too big for him, and too powerful for him, and he won't be able to hold them off. So I don't think they'll be losing any sleep about fighting him.
Where do you think the kind of ceiling is for Alexander Usyk as to where he can go in the heavyweight division?
Well, he needs to pick his opponents correctly. Like a smaller heavyweight, i.e. like a Michael, the Bounty Hunter, or maybe Andy Ruiz, them sort of fighters. I think the Joseph Parker fight would be quite a good fight for him as well. Because Joseph ain't the biggest heavyweight out of them all. I think that would be a decent fight for him. So, I would pick the opponents, but like going up against Joshua and Fury, I don't think he's big enough or powerful enough to keep them two off of him.
Just to stick with the heavyweights, Tony, just get your thoughts on a video Deontay Wilder released on Saturday night accusing Tyson Fury of cheating during their rematch back in February. We've also seen him say that he felt Mark Breland was a disloyal trainer and he thought somebody had spiked his water during the night of the fight. What did you make of all of Deontay's comments?
Yeah, I just think it was like when Foreman lost to Ali. You know, I think that destroyed Foreman losing to Ali because he was a big punch in heavyweight, knocking everyone out, and Ali wasn't a big punch in heavyweight. You know, and he looked like Ali was past his best as well. And you know, to get actually knocked out by Ali in the 8th round, I think it ruined Foreman's career. He never really boxed out. He might have had one fight after that, and then, you know, retired for 10 years. I don't think he could cope with that defeat. And I think Wilder's the same. I don't think he can cope with a Fury defeat. You know, he was knocking everyone out as well. And then, you know, he gets not just knocked out, but beat up and knocked out by Tyson Fury, who's not noted as a big punching heavyweight. And I just don't think his mind is right and he's coping with it. And, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't fight anymore.
Obviously, you say there you wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't fight. I've seen numerous other people suggest we may have seen the last of Deontay Wilder in the boxing ring. If we did see him return, what level of opposition do you think we should see him in with?
Well, you know, if I was anything to do with him, I'd bring him back with quite a low, medium level sort of fighter, and someone who's not worrying, and, you know, build him back up again, 2 or 3 fights, get his confidence back up, and that's the way he's going to do it. But he needs a lot of rebuilding because, you know, the way he's talking, it's just absolutely destroyed every bit of confidence, and he just can't get over how he got beat or why he got beat. He just can't get his head around it.
Right, Tony, we will leave that there, and I will finally leave you to enjoy the rest of your day. I appreciate you coming back to just finish this off with me. I'll leave a final word to you, though. What would you like to say to everyone who's going to tune in to watch our interview?
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the interview, and Boxing Social, you were one of the best out there.
Oh, well, Tony, that's greatly appreciated. I'm sure it won't be the last time I speak to you in the coming weeks and months, and hopefully you can keep yourself busy during lockdown the same way everybody else can. You got any plans for it?
Well, I'm just working through lockdown. Obviously, the elite sport athletes are allowed to compete and work. So, you know, it's not going to affect me as such because obviously I've got John Doherty competing next Saturday, and then the Saturday after I've got Conor Benn competing, and then it's looking like John Ryder's going on the 12th of December. So, you know, I'll be training them through the lockdown, and let's hope the lockdown is only on for 4 weeks, and then everyone's lives can get back to normal, and businesses as well, because, you know, we went through the first lockdown and, you know, people are suffering out there business-wise, mental health-wise. So, you know, you really want to see us get back to life again, you know.
Just away from training the guys, you're going to be looking to pick up anything new, Tony? Any new skills you're going to look to work on?
New skills?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. They say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, don't they? But maybe you can. Let's see.
Right. Tony, I will leave that there. Like I say, I appreciate your time and thank you for speaking to Boxing Social.
All right, lovely, Andy. Thanks, mate. God bless you.